Hey friends, today we're diving into a controversial topic. It could ruffle some feathers. Denmark is often crowned as the world's happiest country. But is it so? Is it all sunshine and hygge? After living in Denmark for over a decade, I have noticed some cracks in this happiness facade. So let's explore why Danish people might be secretly unhappy despite their country's reputation. Now, before we start, let me be clear, I love Denmark. It has been my home, as I said, for over a decade, and there are countless things to appreciate us living in Denmark. But no place is perfect, right? So let's peel off the layers and get to some reasons why Danes might not be as happy as the world thinks they are. If you're new here, my name is Mario, and on this channel I help people living in Denmark and expats in Europe as well on achieving financial independence and basically having a great life here. Number one is the pressure of perfection. Denmark's reputation as the world's happiest country or one of the world's happiest countries creates an enormous pressure to be, happy. It's like being told that you're in a never-ending party and it's better to just enjoy the party, right? And this can help to build happiness anxiety, if you could call it in a way. Many Danes now feel that they should be content at all times, and if they're not, there must be something wrong with them. This is like a classic case of what we could call toxic positivity, but on a national scale. Imagine feeling down and being told that but you live in the world's happiest country, you should be happy. That's not really helpful always, is it? This pressure can be particularly intense on young people. A study by the Danish Health Authority found that 18.3% of young Danes aged 16 to 24 have reported poor mental health, and that is an increase from being around 13% in 2010. So this rise in mental health issues suggests that the pressure to be happy, might be actually taking its toll, especially in the younger generations, who are always exposed via social media and international scores on this happiest country narrative. Number two are the Janteloven. And you remember the Janteloven from my previous videos? The Janteloven, or the laws of Jante, are the unwritten social code that discourages in Denmark for individual success and people standing out. This promotes equality, but also, again, stifles ambition and stifles personal growth for a lot of people. And I have seen countless talented Danes, hold themselves back because they're afraid of being boastful or being thinking that people may be thinking they're thinking themselves better than others. And in the end of the day, it is, while there are many good things about it, it is a creativity and ambition killer, and it can lead to a sense of unfulfillment in a lot of people. Again, this also affects personal relationships as well. Again, this is a cultural norm that doesn't just affect the way people handle their personal relationships, it also has economic impacts. Denmark, despite being one of the richest countries, it only ranks 22nd in the Global Entrepreneurship Index, behind many developed countries. And you could argue that this relatively low ranking is attributed to this mentality, which discourages risk-taking, which discourages standing out, which at the end of the day are key traits for entrepreneurs. The fear of failure and the social judgment around that, and the whole thing of you not standing out, may actually be holding back directly or indirectly potential Danish innovators, and again, having them take the leap into entrepreneurship. Number three are the high taxes. We all know that Denmark has high taxes. And yes, they do fund this comprehensible welfare system that we have. But the reality is that, being real, almost half of your paycheck disappears each month, and that can be pretty demoralizing, even though it's for a good cause. For high earners and entrepreneurs, the tax situation can feel especially suffocating. I have Danish friends that basically left the country because they really felt that the system was punishing their success. I made a whole video about that linked over here. But it's really a delicate balance between social welfare and individual incentive, and not everyone feels that this balance is struck right. To put this into perspective, Denmark has one of the highest tax burdens in the world. So we are around 44% of the GDP goes in taxes. That's versus over around 30% in the other OECD countries, which means that basically almost half of the national income goes into taxes. And again, there's a lot of things that these taxes enable to, but again, that level of pressure, it's of course gonna impact some people. And when I say impact some people, it's that this sense of frustration, especially among those who feel that they're not getting their money's worth or who dream of having a substantial personal wealth. Again, the system is not for them, and we can't get for everyone as well. Next point is the weather factor. And this could sound like cliche, but we really can't ignore it. The Danish winters are long, dark, cold, and often gloomy. And there's something called a seasonal affective disorder that is a real issue here. And it really affects people's mood and energy levels. And I can speak from experience here. Again, in Denmark, we are masters of hygge and making the best out of the winter, and that's nice. But when you're in the 5th month of gray skies and like you leave work and it's already dark and basically it's cold all the time, and the other places in Europe are already having spring and you're still with 10 degrees and rain, you're like, ah. And just to add a bit of statistics into this, like in the whole month of December, on average, Copenhagen gets 42 hours in the whole month of sunshine. That means that for only 42 hours in the whole month, you will actually see the sun, which is pretty discouraging. And again, this is not my own perception. I mean, there's research that backs this. So the Scandinavian Journal of Psychology found that 12% of Danes reported this seasonal affective disorder. And that's basically over 20% of the population that also says that they have been having weather-related issues or with the mood. And again, there's cozy candles, the warm blankets, but again, like the lack of sunshine, you know, it's really a big impact. Number 5 is social isolation. Despite, or you could even argue perhaps because of the strong welfare state, many Danes struggle with loneliness and social isolation. The culture here can be quite reserved in Denmark, and it's often difficult again for locals and also for expats to build deep connections. I have heard countless stories from people living in Copenhagen that after many years they have not formed close friendships. Again, here the social circles could be quite close, and this Danish politeness can sometimes feel like a really genuine barrier to making connections. I'm overgeneralizing, it's not that everyone is like this, but it's more common than in other places, that's for sure. And again, like, just to put it into perspective, for expats, Denmark was ranked as the #2 worst country in the world to make friends after Kuwait. So again, like, that's at least for expats, you can see that this is something that will really take a toll. But let me share a bit more context from the Danish angle here. A survey by the Danish Health Authority found that 12.5% of Danish adults feel lonely or always lonely. Among young people, so the people that are under 24, this can be up to 25%. So that's really a quarter of young people are experiencing frequent loneliness in that time of your life that you're basically the most social, perhaps you could even argue. There's the welfare state that will provide you the material security, there's the health, there's the unemployment benefits, there's a lot of things that would cover that. But this, no matter what we can spin, it will not create these social bonds. And again, maybe like this self-sufficiency that people have here because of all the social setup might actually inadvertently contribute to people's isolation. Now the fine line. And you might be thinking, Mario, if it's all true, how come Denmark still tops all the time these happiness rankings? And it's complicated. These rankings often measure life satisfaction rather than the day-to-day emotional happiness people have. And there's a lot of things going for Denmark. So people trust their government, they feel secure in their social safety net, and they have a high standard of living, all else equal. The thing with this is that those things don't necessarily translate to feeling just joyful or fulfilled at a personal level. And it's also worth noting that, again, going back to the Janteloven, Danish people are quite humble, and maybe like when they are asked in a survey about how happy they are, they might be exaggerating, or they might be saying that they're doing great when the reality is that they're not, just because they have this pressure to be conformist. So what is the takeaway here? Is Denmark actually an unhappy country masquerading as an utopia? And the reality is complex, right? It's not at all like that. Denmark has a lot going for it, and many people here lead very satisfying lives. But as in any society, there are challenges and there are contradictions. The key is to recognize that happiness is something complex. No country has all figured out, and it's okay to acknowledge the downsides along with the positives. If you're living in Denmark or you're considering moving here, it's important for you to have a realistic view of this. Embrace the good parts, but don't expect, like this constant bliss that everything is perfect. But what do you think? If you are in Denmark, do you agree with these points? Has your experience been different from this? Let me know in the comments below. And if you found this video interesting, don't forget to like and subscribe to this channel for more insights into life in Denmark. Thank you.